So let's get started here. Now, once you come into your WordPress dashboard, Blockli Assistant runs inside your WordPress backend. So right here, you just go to Blockli Assistant. We're just going to go in here and get started. Now, it brings us into this really nice interface. This is all inside WordPress. Now, you can switch between dark mode and light mode, and you can always go to settings. So in settings, you can change your theme. You can decide to go light, or you can, follow your system theme. Now, let's start first from here. So this is what you get once you first open up the interface. So right here, you can start talking and asking questions. Now, the way we organize this is there are multiple agents. So if we go here, you can see that there are like multiple agents. Some of them are still in training. In fact, we're going to be adding a whole bunch of almost every plugin will be represented here that will have their own specific agents. So you can see here, you can start conversations with the BuddyBoss agent, the BuddyBoss app agent, user insight, GiveWP. Of course, GiveWP recently released an MCP server that you can actually use to manage, your givings and donations. But let's even start with the popular ones here, BuddyBoss agent. Now, I can start a conversation directly with this BuddyBoss agent. So usually when you come in, you would see that, you would have to actually get an agent. So if you click here to get that agent, you get the agent. So here I already have this agent, so I can start a conversation with this agent from here. Now, if I open this, now I'm talking directly now to the BuddyBoss agent and BuddyPress. So this agent understands BuddyBoss and BuddyPress. Now, you can also talk to the orchestrator. So now when you start, open up the first time, this agent, where you see this logo here called Blockli Assistant, is what we call the main orchestrator. So what the main orchestrator does is that it has access to all these other agents that I'm showing you right here. So it can delegate tasks to each of these agents. So for example, if I come here and say, hey, which forums have the highest engagement score? So if I drop that in here and I ask that question, and I say which forum has the highest engagement score, what it's going to do is that it's going to delegate that task to the BuddyBoss agent. Now it's thinking, what to do. Now it's probably going to ask me a question, right? And it's asking me, I can pull that for you, but first a couple of quick things to clarify. So I run that right way. Which site, tenant, blah, 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 all this stuff. So now I can give it the information that it needs, and then it will go off and send that to the BuddyBoss agent. Right here, let's have a conversation with the BuddyBoss agent. So I'm going to say, I can say, give me an overall health report. So here, as you can see here, it's already thinking and it's computing what it needs to fetch that data. And here you go. And so it already starts to surface that insight for you. So we had asked the question. So let's see what it found here. So cool. So it says, we asked the question, give me an overall health report of my BuddyBoss community. And it says the overall community health good. Group's health scores 85 to 100, forum scores 100, 8 groups, 46 total members, 130 activities, and 46 unique active users. It analyzes your forums, and then gives you the key findings, right? Forums are very healthy, group level averages are reasonable, balance of visibility, and then it just does all of that analysis and then gives you actionable recommendations and things that you can do, to improve, some of these things that you're doing, right? And then we can even, because as you chat, you can see, we get into the tokens and how, all this stuff works. But as you chat, you can, we've provided sample prompts, because once you come in, you don't have to start thinking, okay, what am I going to say? What am I going to ask? And all that. We've got hundreds of questions that are already here that you can just click and drag them in. Like here, I can say, give me the underperforming groups, right? So if you want to find what your underperforming groups are, you drop that in, and then off you go. And of course, you can ask any random question, however you're thinking about it. And so you can see here, it's calling the tool that it needs, in order to generate that insight for you. So we're waiting for that. It's generating that insight as it's thinking through. And at this point, it already has the data and it's just sort of like, compiling and trying to create a natural language response. So you can see here, it has found those underperforming groups. So you can see here, so let's just let it do its thing, right? And so it comes down here, it says, here are the underperforming groups, bottom 5 by engagement score, and prioritize action recommendation for each one. Foodie group, engagement score is 36, members 3, recent activity was 30 days ago. Size is a small group, white flag, very small membership, no activity in the last 30 days, low overall activity. And then what was good about it is that it would go ahead and give you suggested things, next steps, and things that you can do, right? And then while that is happening, as you talk, you're going to see that these prompts down here will start popping up, in line with what you're talking about and what you're chatting about. And then I can actually say, hey, give me a chart. I could even say, give me a line chart of a 30-day engagement trend for groups, right? You can ask any question that you want. So now it's thinking, it's processing, it's moving on, it's calling all the tools that it needs to get all that data, to begin to analyze all of that stuff, to get you that information. Now, this is typically something that would take you hours, if you were to even like go through your WordPress backend, if you even have the right plugin that would actually get that type of, insight, right? So it's doing all of that stuff, and then it generates that, and you can see right away. It gives us a line chart. Of course, this is a sample site. I don't have anything going on here, so everything is pretty much flat. But, you would actually have a line chart here, and then you can actually export this as a CSV. And that's the really good thing about this. And this data is live data. This is not an image. I've seen some other plugins, that try to like do this, and they would just generate an image that's all messed up. This is an actual graph that you can actually export, and then you can interact with the data anytime, any day, right? So we go with that, and then I can say, give me a pie chart of group, membership, right? I'm just asking random questions, right? But, you can use your creativity and ask any question that you want. So once we're done here, we're going to go into, and I will run you through the entire interface of, this application and how it actually, how you get around. So it gives me a really good pie chart of, my groups, right? So the graphic design group has 11, this one has 11, this one has 5. And then you can also, of course, export this data. And so if you're a community manager, or you're running an online store, WooCommerce, all of that stuff, like you get that data in real time, and you can take actions. For example, we can ask you to send an email to people in these groups, and it'll go ahead and draft the email right in here, and I'll approve it, and then it'll send that email off, right? So that's on that. Now let's talk through some of the prompts. So if you come here, you click here, and you can see there are a whole bunch of prompts here, and you can pick them by agents, you can pick them by tools, and you can filter them by the type of tasks that they do. So for example, analytics tasks and things like that, just to get insight into what's happening on your WordPress community. And of course, you can also go into like your typical dashboard, and when you get into any dashboard, you could actually even click in and start asking questions about each of the data in your dashboard, right? So and then here you can see your token consumption here, right? So whatever, how you're using these tokens, because AI is, uses tokens to generate the responses and do all the activities that you need it to do. You can keep track of, how much tokens you're using, see your average token usage in a month. You can resume conversations just like you would with ChatGPT. Now, so let's talk a little bit about, the settings page, right? So here this is where, we integrate with a whole bunch of other applications, right? Like you can connect Slack, Notion, Twilio, Airtable, ClickUp, Google Calendar, Zoom, just name it, anything that you can think about. You can connect them here, and and your AI agents will be able to use those tools to perform tasks for you. So, for example, you may want to create an Asana task or a Jira task or something in your project management tool like ClickUp. Uh, to create a card based on, so as you're chatting, as you're having conversations and discovering all the insights, you may want to say, okay, create a card in Asana to do this. The agent will actually create that, so you don't have to leave your this environment. All of that happens in here, right? So it's very easy to connect any of these guys. You just have to like click on them, and then you go through the connection process. Now we're gonna talk through the so how is data being processed. So you can see here, right now there are 5 types of data at this point of this making this video. Of course, we're gonna add more. Your user insights, user devices. This has to do with user devices, has to do with people who use BuddyBoss app. So this will give you like analysis of all of the people who are using your app and all that stuff, all the information about like version adoption, all of that stuff. And then post data, this is analytics and insight into like how your posts are performing. Then of course the forums and the BB group. So how do we do this? What we do is we gather that data, and then we of course send it off to Blockli's own AI server, where now all of that we call that intelligence server, where all of that intelligence is sort of processed and then stored in a cache layer called Redis. So what is Redis? Redis is a fast in-memory database that AI agents actually, or LLMs actually, can interact with. So for example, if you're gonna be, if you're building an AI agent that is connected to an LLM service, you want your data to be in memory, in a very fast retrieval system, so that agents can easily retrieve that data and be able to reason with it to return that information to you. And so what we do here is that we, inside the plugin right now, we're able to synthesize all of those information and then, cache them in Redis. And all of these, every tenant is isolated. There's no cross-pollination of data. Your data is secure. Now, what kind of data do we actually, gather? Now, we don't collect people's email addresses or any like data that even has any meaning. In a minute, I'm going to show you what that looks like. So let's say, for example, we're going to go here. So there's the other part that we call pause agents. I'll get to that because I just want to make this a bit easier for us to understand. So let's stay right here, right? What kind of data are we getting? So we would take, say for example, for a WooCommerce product, right? For BuddyBoss, you would have things like, for a BuddyBoss group, you would say the group ID, the metrics around that group and the members who are part of that group. Now, the only information that we sort of get is just the IDs of those users. There are no, email addresses or any personally identifiable information, PPI that is being used in these conversations, because, we are very security conscious. Like, this LLMs is an external service. We use OpenAI. And so we are not going to be sending like details about your site to OpenAI. What we do is we mask the site. So we don't even send the site URL. What we send is what we call tenant IDs. Now, tenant IDs is an internal unique identifier within the plugin, within our own system, ecosystem, that we would basically, say for example, you ask a question like, uh, which people are in this particular group, in this BuddyBoss group, right? Now, what the LLM would see is your tenant ID and the user IDs of the people who are in this group ID. It doesn't even, pretty much, it doesn't even know the name of the group. It doesn't know the website where the group is coming from. It doesn't know the names of the people that are in that group. All it's just is user IDs, tenant ID, and then the metrics that we provided in order for it to reason and return that information. Now, when that thing comes back into your site in our plugin, then that's when we now reconnect those user IDs to the actual user. So at any point in time, any data that is being sent to an external service is useless anywhere you take it, because it doesn't mean anything, right? So that's how we mask and ensure that your site is secure, no sensitive information or whatever is there, because we are security conscious first. Now, that's about data. Now we're gonna go over to the what we call Blockli event bridge. So if we come here and then we go to here, now